Hey guys, Joey Battista here. Listen, today what we're going to talk about is 4 of the critical ingredients that you need to make a great hire, and we're also going to tell you what the ingredients are and how to make sure you got them. So hey, here's the thing. I've been getting tons of DMs, people reaching out to me all the time, talking about, hey, how do we train? How do we onboard? How do we retain? But I think the key ingredient is we got to make sure that it always comes down to there's other pieces of it. But today we're going to talk about making sure you got the right candidate, okay? Because there's a lot of work that goes into actually once you get someone into your organization, they actually show up and they say, hey, I want to be here. There's a whole lot of work that starts and a whole lot of expense that we'll talk about later on the backside, right? So it's vitally important, and this is really and truly, if you can get this part right, you're halfway home. As you watch this video, you answer the question. You tell me how many of these things you're doing, and then I want you to ask yourself, if I did them, would I have a better candidate? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to unpack them. We're going to unpack them nice and easy, right? We're going to give you actionable steps, things that I've used in my companies, and things that all the pros use that actually make a difference. So the first one is this is really easy, right? You're bringing somebody in. What we learn over time is certain jobs have certain types of personalities that work better for them. Now, it's not a do-all, it's not a silver bullet. Now, keep in mind, there is no silver bullet in any of this. This is a series of things that we can do. Remember, it's as much as a science as it is an art. So as we're going through these things, it's what can we do to play the game of percentages, to go ahead and decrease the likelihood, because remember, once the people show up, we got to be ready to pour into them. So right here, this is a really, really big one. You want to see their traits, right? Their traits. What traits do they have? At this point in time, you already know traits, or you should know, what traits do the most successful people possess in this role? So once you've clearly identified that and you've written it down, and you know the traits that successful people have in the role that you want to hire, then you can implement the personality test. Because every single time you hire, fire, or you bring somebody in or you onboard, it's a constant, the life cycle should be improving. Year over year, month over month, day over day, because every time, if you're monitoring this information, you're continual to making a better decision. And another time, we'll get into career pathing. I'm going to break this up into multiple segments because there's been so much interest in this. So please follow through this whole series that I'm going to do. I'm going to do a series on this, and I'm going to make sure that it's tons of value to the end user is what I want to do. Okay? So let's go ahead and talk about the second thing, right? Because once again, we as leaders have to be prepared to pour into these people, okay? And how do we pour into them? We have to make sure, do we believe the same thing? So I'm sure most of you, or some of you, maybe you do, maybe you don't, and I have an exercise for that too, but that's something for another day as well. But here's the thing, values. What are your core values in your company? If you're not quite at that point and you're a smaller company, what are your values? What's important to you? When the new wears off and the old shines through, what values matter? Do you believe the same things? Do you want the same things? So this is your core value alignment. That's actually when you're going through and you're interviewing someone and you're talking to them, early in the process, you're introducing them to your values and you're aligning them. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, what's going to happen is you're pouring into these people and pouring in a massive amount of energy into them. You have to realize, in order to develop someone, okay, and we get into the cost of turnover and all these other things, but in order to develop someone properly and to really have a high-valued asset that you can use to scale your company with and use to scale other leaders within the organization or even single contributors. If somebody's in there and if you need somebody to show up reliable and to be an example and to actually have a business that runs in your absence, it's going to be reflective in the time that you spend with your people. And I can tell you from experience, and all the pros know this, what happens is you may get to year 1, year 2, or year 3, and the person stalls. And we all have different challenges through our own growth and development. There's different cycles in it. But something has to pull you through. Something has to pull you through the fire when it gets hard and it's difficult. What's going to pull you through? Well, if you're aligned in values, if you believe the same things, the sacrifices that need to be made on both parts, both as you as a leader and the individual that you're coaching, when the sacrifices need to be made, you believe in making them. See, what happens in that values alignment is one person doesn't believe in making the sacrifice as much as the other, and then boom, all that work is out the window. All that hard work that you put in is completely gone, okay? So let's go ahead and dive into habits, right? A man or woman is no more than a collection of their habits. So if I know what habits that I need in order for the job to be the most successful, what do? I actively try to look for those habits. And how do you do it? We're all on our best appearance on the first date, right? But you ask a series of questions that are over and over again throughout the team. So when you bring them into the organization, the entire team has vetted them, or at least the staff that you're working with, whatever the case may be. But at this point in time, you've had an opportunity to see if this is the natural cadence that they keep, and at the same point in time, you can begin, because once again, you should have an idea what habits matter. So then we go in, so multiple interviews, that'll weed out, that'll give you an opportunity to vet out, to see exactly what you're gonna do. Skills. So here's the thing. How do we find out if they actually possess the skills? So first of all, what skills do they need? Is it a leadership role? Or are they going to have certain leadership things, deductive reasoning, critical thinking skills? Is it a single contributor role, right? Are they going to have to be able to use certain softwares or do certain technical skills, whatever the case may be? So the thing is, it's important that we go ahead and whatever the role is we're going in there and we're looking for those skills. We do a case study that will actually demonstrate. For example, if you're going to need them to do PowerPoints, then you have them do a PowerPoint. You have them do a PowerPoint in the case study. You will, believe it or not, what you will find is, and I know because I've done this, is people will be hired for a role that we know they have to do a PowerPoint, but then you'll see it, and sure, can they get through it? Or maybe they can't get through it, but can they do it at the level you need them to do it at? It's really important that you show that they at least show that they have the bare essential skills. Now, if they meet all the other criterias, if they have the values and they have the traits and they lack a little bit in it, but at least they're proficient in it, maybe they're not excellent in it, you can decide at that point if you actually really want to make the investment in them. You know what I can tell you? If we have a great human being that we align with, there's almost no amount of investment that is too much. However, if we have a human being that we do not align with, values-wise, if we don't align, almost any effort that you put into them is going to be a complete waste. It is not going to shine through. It is not going to cascade throughout the organization. It's not going to help you grow and scale your department, your company, your team, whatever your situation may be. We're going to bring it all together, and then we're going to hit you with the bonus round. At this point, what you have done is every single time we went through where there's traits, values, habits, skills, the key thing is this is the bonus round, and this should be your really big takeaway. And this is where it really hits home, and this is the hardest part. Keep in mind as we're going through this, a lot of you are saying this is a lot to do. You're like, wow, this is a lot to do. But on the other hand, one of the biggest problems right now for everybody is how do I get great people? And then the question is, how am I going to grow and scale? Well, growing and scaling is a mixture of taking average people that are great humans and training them very well with great leadership. That's the formula. So the thing is, you have to question yourself as a leader when you're unwilling to do this. And you have to look in the mirror so it's a two-part thing. Is it the talent or is it me, the leader? So as we bring it all together, one of the key ingredients, the bonus round is keep in mind every step of the way when I went through here, clearly define what traits are you looking for. How much time with you and the team did you sit down and analyze your past failures? I know you talked about on the exit interview what didn't work or whatever the case may be, however you're working with the talent. How many times have you been talking about the values? Are you having meetings every week in your company, and every time opportunity you get as a leader, every single time are you discussing these values? And then you've clearly identified them and written them down so that you're using it as a lens to bring people into the organization? And number 3, what habits do people need? Are we looking at the habits? Like, what's their natural thing? So here's why this one's so big, is because when you have a habit, you don't have to ask somebody to do something. It's habitual for them, right? So there's certain roles that we excel at because we're naturally good at something. I would rather find somebody who enjoys the work and is actually excited about doing it, because in order to create those operational efficiencies that make a great hire great, they're going to have to train and develop. People that don't train and develop can never yield as high a profit for a company, and the reason is because they can never get better at what they do. And if they don't get better at what they do, then the company doesn't get better at what they do. So it's really important to see, what the habits are. And then skills, right? We live in an age to where skills are absolutely required. The skills today, as we're shooting this video right now today, the skills that are required to win, shoot YouTube videos, edit them, produce them, whatever the case may be, 12 months from now, there's going to be a whole entire new world out there. A new level of consumption, a new level of conveying it, a new level of doing anything. So I'll leave my closing statement with this. Every single one of these things, if they're clearly defined and they're well communicated throughout the leadership team, and you talk to them during the interview and hiring process, before you bring them into the organization, you'll have a humongous success. Either which way, I thank you for your time today, and I hope this helps you on your journey of where you're looking to go. And if it does, please subscribe to the channel, and I look forward to seeing you next time.